Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Sam.
My name is Melissa, and we are excited to be able to answer some questions that we've gotten about what it was like for the mothers, like
Yes.
what their life was like. And obviously, Sam wasn't a mother out there, but we will try to give the
Good
best
point.
answers that we can about.
I had a mother out there though.
You had a mother out there,
So that's something.
what it was like for the mothers out there.
Yeah.
So let's just get going into some of these questions because we've had quite a few. One of them was, well, I guess this is more generic of a question, but how big of a house did you have?
Well, that depends actually.
On how many mothers?
Yes. So, growing up as a very young boy, this was from when I was born until when I was about 8 years old. We lived in a double wide trailer home actually. So, grew up in a very small space.
How
There
many
were
mothers were in that?
During that time there were three.
And how many kids?
Well, the, uh,
Quick math, quick
quick.
math.
There were probably about, I would say, right around 20, low 20s, 22, right around that area. Just because, well, there's 36 of us, but
Kids.
some kids, yes, but some had moved out, some had been, gotten married, or were just older and not living in the house at the time. So it was, I would say, in the low 20s.
In the trailer, but that was
In the
so that
trailer.
they could build their home. So,
Well, yeah, we were working on building a home right next to that, but that actually didn't happen. Yes, so we moved. We ended up about when I was 8, 9 years old. We moved across the street to a home that was already built. A family was living in that home. The father of that family passed away, so they were. Uh, I don't know if they were, honestly, I don't know for sure, but I believe they were split up and kind of, moved around, and that opened up that house, and that's when we moved over to that house. And that
oh,
house
wow.
was huge. Let's just say Motel 6 status. Yeah, and it was kind of a hotel feeling actually. You'd walk down the hall, and there were just doors on both sides with rooms lining the halls. So
And how many kitchens?
there were two. Okay, there were two. One very large, and then just a regular sized kitchen. So there were two kitchens in there.
And when we're talking large, we've been out there before to look at some of these homes. Like,
Yeah.
we're not talking like really nice house, large kitchen. We're talking like an industrial size kitchen, and then you have like a normal large kitchen.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
these homes are massive, and a lot of them, as people have left Colorado City, actually have gotten turned into like bed and breakfast and motels. So that's like a real thing.
Yes.
But getting, I guess, back to the mothers part of it.
Sorry, I was just thinking back. I'm trying to. I want to make sure I'm not exaggerating here on how many kids were in the double wide trailer because as I'm thinking about that, 20 something, that's a lot
That's a
of
lot of
kids
kids.
in a double wide
We had two,
trailer.
and we couldn't survive.
Well, and
in a
there were
double
two.
wide.
There was a double wide trailer, and then right next to it is just a single trailer. So there were two. Anyway, um, so it would have had to been high teens, low 20s though, because there were so many of us were already born at that point. Anyway, right around there, it was a lot of us.
A lot of
Sorry,
people.
interruption.
No, you're good. I was like, this is a lot of talk about the houses. But it's important because any mom would know that having, like, that's a lot of people to take care of in a small space. And what was like the cleaning, like the chores, like how did that go between the mothers? Because at one point there's four mothers
Mm-hmm.
total. Do they all help with everything? Do they just take care of and feed their own kids? Do they feed everybody? Like, how do you split up that work?
Well, everyone was supposed to be involved, including the children. So they didn't just do everything on their own, but it seemed like each mother had their specialty. For example, one would be a little bit better at making food and that, but they would all kind of help. They would all kind of help and do the chores together and make sure that all of the children were helping and doing the chores as well. It was a lot of chores in a big house. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, and then what was it like sleeping arrangements? Did father like rotate between wives? Like, did they each have their own room? Did he have his own room? Tell us a little bit about that situation.
No, we all just lived in one big. No, yeah. So each mother had their own room, and generally speaking, the mothers that still had young children, they would. The children would sometimes stay with them, or they would have a bed in their room with them. The really young children. So yes, and each mother had their own room. And as far as sleeping arrangement goes between husband and wife, they kept it very secretive. I don't know exactly how all of that worked. Obviously, there's a lot of children, so they figured it out. But I imagine, because of all the children around the mothers in their rooms, I imagine that because father had his own room as well, I imagine that they met in his room. That would well, okay, I heard of anyways. Yes, that's that's how it happened. They would meet in his room.
They would meet in his room. Yeah. Do you think it was just like on a rotation? Like, was it you get this week, I get this next week, or was it like every other night?
When father was explaining it to me, no,
I can't imagine sharing like that.
Yeah, that's the thing is he no one ever told us, and I was never married out there with having more than one wife or any of that. So I don't really know. And as a young boy, the last thing I was going to do is go ask my mother how she felt about having other mothers around the house, sleeping with her husband. So it's just not something that I really dove into much when I was out there.
Interesting fact, though, while we're on this topic, that I found out from some of my sister-in-laws that lived out there and things like that, was that once a woman was pregnant, they were no longer allowed to be intimate anymore. So that was one thing. And one of the questions somebody asked too was like, could multiple mothers be pregnant at the same time? And they absolutely were.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Pregnant at the same time.
We didn't. I mean, there were only actually three that were there were three that were having children at the same time, but. A lot of us. I mean, there are some of us children that were just. I'm thinking of some of my brothers and sisters, and we're just a couple months apart.
Yeah, from different mothers.
From different mothers, yeah. So there were definitely women pregnant at the same time. Yes.
Yeah, and another question was about home birthing, and as far as giving birth. They didn't do it at home though, right? There was a place to go.
Right, just like anyone else. I'm sure there were families out there that did have the children at home and had someone come and help them. But as far as our family went, we went we called it Hilldale. We called it Hilldale, and it was a place in Hilldale where actually the bishop lived. Fred Jessup, who lost, where Fred Jessup lived. So he, attached to his house, had this like hospital type thing where a lot of the women would go to give birth to their children.
Okay, so like mom would just leave and give birth and like bring back baby, or do you think like was your father there for the birth?
Yes.
Or
I know that he wasn't in the house. I was never there for the birth, so I don't know if father stayed outside of the room during the birth or if he was there holding her hand. I don't know exactly how that happened, but I do know that as soon as the baby was born, a lot of us children were invited to go to Hilldale and actually meet the baby there before they brought the baby home. Yeah, so we would all, the big old family, we'd all go up there and sit in the waiting room, and the baby would come out, and they would pass the baby around for all of us to hold the baby. Yeah.
Aww, that's so cute.
So it was exciting. It wasn't just like, oh, another baby, throw it into the mix. So it was always exciting. We were always happy to have another sibling, and it was a big deal.
Yeah. And then as far as pregnancy, another question was asking, like, pregnancy is hard on women. So did like the other mothers help step in when a woman was pregnant? Or I guess if they were all pregnant at the same time, there really wouldn't be...
Yeah, I remember.
Extra attention.
I do remember mothers still doing chores and working and helping out even while being very pregnant. So I imagine, I mean, someone would have had to step up during that time, and I believe just everyone in general tried to help out extra, during the time where, especially where she was getting close to having the baby. Yeah.
They probably honestly just weren't as whiny as I am.
Yeah. They weren't allowed to be whiny.
No, really though, I think that sometimes I'm like, you like waited on me and took such good care of me, and I'm like, there's just probably no way that they would be able to get the same amount of attention. I don't know.
It was
Seems like it would be hard.
It was very different, especially the dynamic between husband and wife. It was very different, obviously, and I don't know how affectionate my father was with, let's say, my mother or any of the mothers. I saw them kiss, but that's about all that I saw. Anyway, so but we were a very loving big family, and I there were several times where I remember mother not feeling well, and I would go and rub her feet. I'd sit at the end of her bed and just rub her feet for a long time, and she would do the same if I was feeling sick. I mean, it was just, so there were people there
To help take care of each
there were a
other.
lot of us there, and we were always helping each other out. So it wasn't the same between husband and wife as you would normally think, but definitely there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people to help out, and just a big, extra big, loving family. So
Awesome. Well, if anybody has more questions about what it was like for the mothers out there that we didn't cover, please leave it in the comment section. Or if you just have questions at all about what it was like for Sam being raised in the FLDS community. So
we love questions.
We love
So Thank you,
questions.
and thank you all for these questions. Great questions.
Yes, and we will talk to y'all soon.
Talk to you soon.